everybody, welcome to Austin City Limits. This is the 50th anniversary of Austin City Limits. Right here, 2024.
Got started working on the show at all. My hunch is in your wildest dreams, it didn't occur to you to get quite this big. Is that right? What were your thoughts in those days?
In my wildest dreams, I didn't even anticipate that I'd have anything whatsoever to do with it, since that was not my background, nor was it my goal when I first moved to Austin. But once I did get my foot in the door and got involved with the show, as basically an assistant to the producers at the time, nobody, myself, including the original producer team, thought the show would last literally more than a few years, if that. Finding the funding for the show just to keep Austin City Limits going was never a given. I mean, it was always a challenge. And the fact that we've met those challenges and figured a way to deal with them over the last 50 years is really a testament to the show's success and to the support that it's had. So when we celebrated our 10th anniversary, that seemed like a big deal. And we thought, well, this is about as good as it gets. How much more can we keep doing? And then 15, 20, 25, and every other year and every other decade rolled along until we hit 50, which is still hard to believe, but we are here.
The music industry, of course, changed like everything else. It's been upended and disrupted by technology. But this relatively straightforward television show just stays, and it stays relevant. That impact that it has is still happening. Why is that? Why is that happening still for this program?
It's really hard to dig deep and analyze what is the key to Austin City Limits' success. Why has it lasted this long? Why does it continue to have the appeal it has, not only the way it began, but also to a new generation, 3 generations probably of artists and to music fans? Well, it's really not a secret. It's very simple. It's a very straightforward format. Obviously, it's all about the music. Yes, we do include pieces of interviews with the artists at the end of each program, but that only brings a little more insight into who that artist is and why they create the music that they do. But otherwise, when the world started to change back in the 80s and MTV and VH1 came along, and there were a dozen or more cable channels, and everybody thought that they spelled the doom of PBS. Not only music programs and channels, but everything from arts and entertainment to discovery, etc. And so we did talk amongst ourselves about maybe we should change up the format because is anybody going to be interested in watching a straight concert music program on television? Well, as we all know, if you look at MTV or VH1 today, there's very little music to be found. There are music videos to be found everywhere online, YouTube, but there is still not a straight music show. It is just about real music performed live on TV. And that had a place, it still has a place, and hopefully it always will.
Tell me about what music was like in your life from the beginning of it. Did you grow up in a musical household? What influenced you as a youngster?
Well, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, so of course the music that I was influenced by was the music of those times. I'm from Poughkeepsie, New York, which is about 75 miles north of New York City. The people in New York would consider it to be upstate, but we were close enough to New York to be in the orbit of New York City, which meant that I grew up listening to New York City radio and watching television, and if I wanted to go to a concert, I could just hop on a train and be in New York City in an hour. And so that was the beauty of growing up where I lived. But on the downside, there wasn't a lot of music around Poughkeepsie, and my family was not the least bit musical, which in retrospect, I regret that I didn't have that kind of influence or inspiration coming from my own home. And my other regret is that I never learned how to play a musical instrument, even to this day. My goal at the time, when I went to college, was to get a college degree in journalism. I sort of had a fantasy about becoming a reporter for the New York Times, being stationed overseas all over the world. But the college I went to in Albany, New York, didn't offer a journalism program. So I got my degree in history, which was my next kind of love. But also, they had a radio station at the college, and I joined the radio club. And that's when a couple of people commented that I had a good voice for radio, which, I had nothing to do with it. Just kind of happened that way after puberty. And so once I got started, I realized this is not a bad gig, not a bad way to make money, just kind of sitting in a room and playing music and talking every now and then. So I continued to do that and got a part-time job at the radio station in my hometown of Poughkeepsie. But I did have a really good friend who was a musician in that area, played in the clubs with his band, the Arm Brothers, and he was the one who told me all about Austin. I really wasn't aware of it at all, other than it was the capital of Texas. And he started talking to me about all of this music down here. And I first learned of Willie Nelson from my friend Dan. And at some point he said, let's take a road trip to Texas. There's this picnic that they do every summertime that Willie puts on. And we drove down here in the middle of summer, went to Willie Nelson's 4th of July picnic in 1974. And basically at the end of 3 days, we both decided we were going to move here. Just pack up everything, quit my job, and move to Texas. I literally moved to Austin 2 weeks after they taped the pilot show with Willie Nelson. And when I started my job at KUT, they were taping Austin City Limits once the show was committed for a season. And I would grab a ticket or two and go to the tapings. And I'd sit out on the floor, which was the way they had it set up back then, and I would watch Flaco Jimenez and Texas Playboys and all of the shows that they did during the first couple, 2 to 3 years. I got to know the producers of ACL back then. Charles Vaughn was the producer for the 3rd season. And I asked them if they maybe would like to have somebody to help out, since they were a pretty bare-bones operation. They took me up on my offer. So within a year, all of those people who started the show and basically those who booked Willie and who guided it through the first couple of years left. And that created a vacuum, of course, and seeing an opportunity, I sort of mustered up the courage, walked into the station manager's office, and basically pitched myself for the job. I don't even think the management at KLRU at the time expected it to last that much longer. But I was afraid that since the original ACL team had left, they needed to hire somebody else to step in and take the wheel. So if not me, then who would it be? When they moved on, I made my move to sort of step into their shoes as a fledgling producer. And they realized it would be cheaper to hire me to do it than to bring in somebody else from LA or New York or somewhere with more experience. So I grabbed it.
She's so far upstage, I don't know if the GMs are going to be able to do anything for her.
The overwhelming majority who have worked on ACL have been there for years, decades, many decades. And they've shown that commitment, loyalty, passion, combination of all of those things to really stay together. I'm happy to take credit for this or that, including some of the talent bookings over the years, but I think the thing I'm the most proud of is that I've hired the best people to do the jobs that they do for all of these years. One of the things that we have changed over the years is the production values of the show. In the beginning, it was very straightforward. I think we had, maybe 4 cameras. The lighting was like kitchen lighting. You look at it today, it is a different looking show. Our skyline even looks bigger and prettier. And the colored lights and the beams and so forth definitely add an artistic touch to the show. You have more cameras. So in that sense, it has evolved, as all things must, to be a better quality, higher production value show. But at the heart of it, it's still just as simple as it was in the beginning. We basically offer our stage up to whoever the artist or band is for the day. They get to do whatever they want, set up the stage basically any way that they want to, perform the set list of songs as they want. And they even get to choose the songs and make the final edit, and they have the right to remix the music if they want to on their own afterwards. That kind of collaboration And that kind of artistic freedom is so rare, if not unheard of. And it shows, and it comes across that way too. The audience gets to see the kind of show that artist, that band want for them to see. It's entirely in their hands. We just capture it and make it look as good as it can. And that was the basis of ACL when it started out. You know, the fact that Willie Nelson was the first person to perform on the pilot show, and that kind of launched the whole series, the whole concept, and it became a national series from then on. So when I became producer, it was pretty obvious to me by season 4 that we needed to stretch those limits. And by booking Tom Waits as the first show, that certainly made a point that we were definitely opening the doors to all kinds of different music. But there have been milestones over the years. Getting Ray Charles to do the show certainly took it to a new level and made it easier to attract other national caliber type talent, superstars essentially. But I'll admit that a lot of it had to do with my personal tastes and the fact that I was in the unique position as the producer of booking whatever talent I wanted to.
From Austin, Texas, Austin City Limits presents an hour of country music and the Texas tradition.
We dove deeply into country music. Once we sort of decided to expand beyond Austin and Texas country, we incorporated a lot of Nashville-style country music into the show. Maybe it had gone a little too far in that direction. And then we kind of shifted gears once again and decided we should be a more eclectic show and mix up the talent even beyond just country or even just beyond roots music. And so when we started booking bands like Wilco, Pearl Jam, Radiohead, REM, and so forth, that was obviously a step in a whole new direction. And eventually, over time, I think the ACL Festival, when it came around right after the turn of the century, that really also helped to drive this expansion of the music mix in the show, so that essentially in today's world, Austin City Limits means whatever you want it to mean. It's good music from anywhere and everywhere, whether it's country music, Latin music, hip hop, indie music, whatever that means, rock and roll, of course, music from Africa, from Australia, from Asia, from anywhere and everywhere.
6A is legendary on the campus, basically a big, high-ceiling black box of a room, but it became this amazing special space. Why was that?
Studio 6A on the UT campus was definitely just a big black box when they finished that building in 1974. And they didn't really seem to know for sure what they were going to do with it at the time. It was a strange place to become a rock and roll landmark, which the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame designated it. It was on the 6th floor of a building with very difficult access, a freight elevator that was shared by the entire building, not just for our use. There were only maybe 2 or 3 bathrooms within those 6 floors that people could use. We had to literally write to the president of UT every time we did a taping to ask for permission to serve beer, because it was an academic building and alcoholic beverages were not allowed. We would get a special dispensation, and the loading and unloading in the driveway down below was difficult. Long story short, there were a lot of things working against it, and yet it lasted for 36 years in that same space. And it just took on a certain kind of magic after not that many years. And it was the music within those 4 walls that made it so magical. I remember when we weren't doing a show, just walking into that studio from time to time by myself, and you could just almost hear the echoes of music from over the years reverberating in the room, in this empty room with an empty stage. And not to say that it was like haunted by spirits, but there definitely were plenty of spirits from the music over the years. And memories, the memories of what happened in that room, all of which fortunately were captured on video.
We'd like to do one more song to close out Austin City Limits at Studio 6A. And we would love it if you guys would leave your posts and join us on stage.
We knew we had outgrown Studio 6A. When the University of Texas Fire Marshal cut our capacity down to 300, when it used to be 700 plus, we knew that eventually something had to give. But we were a public television station, so we didn't have the resources to just go out and build or buy a new studio soundstage. So at some point, we were approached by a commercial developer, Stratus Properties, who build a lot of commercial development outside in and around Austin. And they approached us and asked if we'd be willing to move to a new studio if they would build it for us and pay for it. That's kind of offer that's hard to resist. And it didn't take long to decide, let's look into this. And on top of that, they basically gave us carte blanche to design this space as we see fit, to make sure that it accommodated our needs. We were able, to design a space that we felt was as true to the original, but on a bigger, grander scale as possible. And we feel like we were successful. There were definitely some sleepless nights where we wondered if we messed this up, we'd be run out of town, ruining a good thing like Austin City Limits. But we managed to maintain the same kind of intimate vibe by the design of the room. Most people are surprised to learn that the actual footprint of the new space at the Moody Theater is exactly the same as Studio 6A. It still has that vibe, that intimacy that was so important in Studio 6A. So it's been a win-win for us, for the artists, for the city of Austin. Our profile in downtown Austin now obviously is very high, and there are no regrets looking back. But at the time, we were definitely pulling out our hair and sweating. Is this really the right thing to do?
And will that specialness transfer? It did, obviously.
So doing this show, this is an honor for any band. We don't have to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame anymore because we're playing this show tonight.
Every time I look back and I see this image, I see, no, I can't believe it. I'm in Austin City Limits.
50 years of Austin City Limits, Austin, Texas, what's up?
Where does this all go from here? This is 50 years. What else is left for you guys to do you think?
In some ways, we've referred to this 50th as a bridge to the future, although, frankly, in my mind, you could say that about almost any year in the 50-year history of Austin City Limits, because every year, every season that we do is really a bridge or a pathway to the next year. And that bridge, that pathway, is paved with music, with new talent. That's, in my mind, what the show is all about, and has been and should be all about, is showcasing new music, bringing new blood to that stage, a new generation of talent, and finding other ways maybe to get it out to the world. I don't want to mess with the format. We thought about that once upon a time when MTV and VH1 came along, and we thought we had to change. People told us, you have to change. Well, we didn't. What we changed was the music. We changed the mix. The people have always referred to our music show as a gumbo of all different kinds of genres and styles of music, which is a true way to put it. But we just need to find some new ways maybe to get that gumbo of music out to the rest of the world. But otherwise, it would be a big mistake in my mind to mess with the format, the formula that has made the show so successful, popular, and has lasted for 50 years.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe for more from Austin Insight.
You can also watch full episodes of Austin Insight for free on the PBS app.